All right, it is 7 o'clock, and we are recording, so welcome everyone. First, just a friendly reminder, if you have electronic devices, cell phones, etc., please put them on airplane mode or off so they don't disrupt the meeting. And second, please join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, welcome everyone. This is the regular City Council meeting for Minnetrista for November 1st, 2021. I'm going to start with introductions. This evening we have staff members, Gary Peterson, who is our Public Works Superintendent, and we have Ali Paulfus, who is our Director of Administration, our new City Clerk, Don Motzko, and then our City Engineer with WSB, Allison Fauski. And council members present this evening, we have Kathleen Refkin, Ann McGregor, John Champerlain, Pam Mortensen. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the Mayor. And then on my right, we have our City Administrator, Mike Baroni. Brian Grimm is our Finance Director. David Abel is our Community Development Director. Ron Beatty is with Kennedy and Graven, and our city attorney. I don't think you're our engineer, are you?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. And then sitting in for our Chief of Police this evening is Sergeant Pat Cummings. So welcome again. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to the agenda as presented?
So moved.
I think Pam beat to it. So Ms. Mortensen made that motion and Ms. Refkin seconded that. All those in favor will signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. This evening we have two special presentations, and we're going to start out with Mr. Kirkwood, who is our LMCD, or Lake Minnetonka Conservation District representative, and I believe the Executive Director, Vicki Schleining, is with us this evening as well. Good evening, and thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Mike Kirkwood. I live at 5435 Cedar Point Road. It's been 28 years, so it's been a long time in Minnetrista. I'm very happy. I am your delegate to the LMCD, and this is finishing my second season coming up here. And tonight we just wanted to introduce a few of the board members who have not heard this before, not had an introduction to it, so I'll give you an orientation to the organization, what we're about, and again, share the podium with the Executive Director, Vicki Schleining, and take any questions you have. You may wonder offhand, if you're new to the area, why do we have a representative on the LMCD? And I just did a count this afternoon out of curiosity for myself as to how many properties actually touch Lake Minnetonka in the city of Minnetrista. And just a rough count, there were 340 waterfront properties, and there are many more properties that would be in outlaw associations that would have access to the lake as well. So a substantial number of Minnetrista residents have direct access to the lake. Just for comparison, the city of Minnetonka, I counted only 200 over that part of the lake. So we're actually touching it more than they have. So just a kind of orientation, Mike, and I can do this from here, right?
Yep, hit the arrows.
I believe have this in front of you. If not, we'll get it to you. The surface area of the lake and shoreline, or whatever, it's, like I said, probably the more important statistic up there is what I just told you. That's about how many citizens in Minnetrista really have property that actually abuts the waterfront, and then how many hundreds more would be off the lake, but still have legal access to it through outlaw associations. And let's see here. So our mission, established by the legislature in 1967, is to initially to address some of the issues that were going on in the lake at that time, large docks, sewage, and so on, but providing a more coordinated leadership role for activities on the lake, safety on the lake, and representing a variety of stakeholders who all have their hands on the lake and interest in the lake. So it's been an area where there's been a lot of growing interest, as you well know, lots of traffic on the lake the last few years, to the point that we have been working hard to fundraise through our Save the Lake entity to help fund 2 additional patrol officers for the summer on the lake. So we were successful in doing that last season, and we're looking at doing it again next year as well. Membership, we'll skip that. We can coordinate with several different partners in the lake access and lake issues, not only residents but businesses and special interest groups. We have very good support and involvement from the different marinas around the lake. They are key stakeholders as well, so they're present in most of our meetings and help when there are issues. Our strategy for the next year is at base mission, preserve and enhance the Lake Minnetonka experience. We're finding that there are conflicts that come up around who gets to do what on the lake and how can they do it. Sometimes there are people who are taking advantage of the lake in dangerous ways, and so we're working hard to coordinate among the interests so that there can be a safe user experience on the lake. We do, fund, underwrite, if you will, through donations, the Water Patrol from Hennepin County, and we coordinate their activities to help protect safety on the lake. Our priorities going forward is to maintain a strong financial foundation, and Vicki can speak to more any questions on that. Clear and timely communications, we're looking to have a better visibility out there. We have been we've been not so good at getting into the social media world. We need to get a little more present in that, so we're looking at getting some staff that can help us with that in communications. Moving towards more operational effectiveness as a team. We do a fabulous job of reviewing applications for dock changes and dock expansions, so we're very sophisticated about that. And we're looking to be even more effective in the other areas that we're involved with. Lake protection and AIS, historically, if you've been around the lake for years, we used to be recognized as the people who did the harvesting with 3 or 4 different blue harvesters that would cut up weeds and haul them off the lake. That has fallen from favor after a number of discussions in terms of what was the best way to get the weeds out of the lake, and we are now probably working more with developing local shoreline groups that can fund their own chemical treatments in constricted areas with DNR support and observation. And then Save the Lake is the division, if you will, of our organization that is the fundraising group for additional safety on the lake and lake improvement projects. Vicki, there?
Great job of explaining the overview of what our organization is about. If you look at the highlights and projects, I'm just going to cover a couple of things that kind of interest this year. Slide. Never mind. There we go. Again, Mike, I'm not going to talk about too much, but you have the budget with you, and there was a reduction primarily because of the AIS. It was basically a suspension for 2022. But we are looking at an AIS strategy and really looking lake-wide, and you'll see a few things that we did this year and coming up next year, new threats. I'm going to talk a little bit, too, on our new website. We added a lot more information. We added a Lakeshore owners webpage based on feedback from militaries and from lakeshores, and so far that's been a big hit. We'll continue to add to it as we go, but for the AIS we put a lot of different information of what to look for, and this year was kind of a tough year for vegetation. We had a lot of calls about that, but we also spent a lot of time with people calling us out to look at suspicious vegetation. We need a lot of eyes with 14,000 acres. The safety and boat-generated wakes. Last year, that kind of came up, and we've always had some concerns about wakes, but we had literally hundreds of calls to our office, and we kind of worked together, putting together a core group and with industry-led education. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I've been out to the lake a few times, several times this year, monitoring it and seeing what happened. Much better than last year. The study that was supposed to be out in fall will really be, spoke to the University of Minnesota. It will hopefully be done at the end of this year. They're really doing due diligence, and it's out for peer review, even internationally, because this is a concern a lot of places. Then we'll have the next phase, depending what that looks like. And there's this information, if you have that in your handout, in your handout for your board packet, those links are live. You can go to that page for more information. Also we're working with there probably will be some legislation related to lakes that will be presented, and I'll send those out and in the email to let you know kind of where that's at. We're working with some of the industry and the DNR for some of that. Unlawful charter operations, we heard a lot of feedback this year because the lake's so busy, everyone is looking for ways to capitalize and make money, but sometimes it's not safe or it takes up public resources from some of the cities. So we worked with Water Patrol and created web pages for that, and we probably have about 19 in prosecution right now, and most of those were because they also had safety violations. So it isn't just a matter of doing business, and so I think we'll see a lot of improvement, and there may be some changes. We're going to review it. It's just we had so much happen this summer that we had to look at, here's our code, we're going to enforce that now, and then look at it next year and how maybe we can make it even better for all parties. And document reconfigurations, we worked with some of your staff on some concerns neighbors had, or a few applications that were in. So I think for the most part we spent a lot of time resolving problems, and hopefully getting it so people can enjoy the lake. And our new website, again, take a look at that. The new lake show owner section is huge. It includes things that also are intended to help protect the lake or to get people to the resources quicker. And we have a contact section, so you know who to call when. We'll still help with referrals, but that's been kind of big on our communications. I think that's pretty much it for some of the main things. Starting off with the AIS, a couple of years ago, we looked at kind of the strategy in our base. So next year you'll see a spiny water flea. We're going to have a neat Swedish dishcloth that will be handed out later. We also have, a couple of years ago, we had a big island outbreak. A lot of people sick, had a lot of calls for that. We had actually planned on ordering the sanitizer, not realizing that COVID was coming. So we didn't have some of the issues. People were really good about, trying to maintain the distances. So this year, for how many people were out there, overall it was, we were pretty happy. The BUIs were up quite a bit, so we're seeing that now. Probably, I think we had about 30-some versus 3. So there are still a few incidents that, you need to address, and we work with the cities and different parties. But again, for the most part, considering how busy it has been, summer and winter, I think I'm just really happy for the cooperation. We're getting this because of the last couple of years for winter. Some of the things you'll be seeing is that we're doing kind of a more spearheaded campaign on keep the whatever you take on the ice, take off. Last year, staff and I spent several hours trying to clean up styrofoam, those little styrofoam pellets. Horrible. So anyway, I'd like to outlaw that, but we'll see. That'll come up. But so a lot of that, we really do want to make sure that people take whatever they put on the lake out with them and not store it on the adjacent property. So you'll see some of that coming out this year too.
So every season there's a lot of activity for Vicki and her staff. This time of year it's docks that are looking to be bubbled to have open water around them. So there's all kinds of rulings around making sure that's a safe function, fencing, inspections, and so on. It takes up a lot of time this time of year. Springtime, new docks going in, changes to the dock configurations, and so on. So we just lots of detailed work that's probably not all obvious.
All the extremes too. High water one year, low water the next year. Winds blowing docks off, we have damage one year.
So I just have a question, if I could. We have heard from our representative regarding the Cedar Point channel, and we were very supportive of making that a slow wake zone. Where are we at with that? Because there was a survey done, and our residents, anyway, in Minnetrista, were very much in favor of that. And we were also shown a map where there's another access immediately adjacent to it where people can go faster if they so wish. So we haven't really heard anything. Where are we at in the process for that?
So this summer I went out on several weekends and did observations. I don't tell people I'm coming. I'm incognito so I can see kind of what's happening. We were out there a couple times, and thanks to your director assistant. So I will be compiling a lot of that information. We had a lot of requests for slow, no-wake zones, especially the last couple of years. And we'll look at it a couple different ways, but we'll present a report, kind of the findings. There were a couple of scary incidents. And then we'll look at were there any reported accidents. We'll get feedback from Water Patrol, from Hennepin County. Yeah, so we'll prepare something more formal. And I think we have pictures and even some video.
Okay, well, hopefully we can prevent an accident versus waiting for one to happen. So, all right, thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And Mike, appreciate your time and expertise in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So next we have Senator Osmic with us this evening for a presentation. Welcome, Mr. Osmic, or Senator Osmic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor, I'm sorry, I keep falling back to my Senate experiences. Good to be with you tonight. I'll give you a little background on me because I know you guys know who I am, but you guys are relatively new. I don't have business cards, and I'll explain that a little bit later. I was born and raised in Glencoe. For my first 18 years, I lived on my parents' farm, which I still own 40 acres of as of today, and plan to for a very long time. Graduated from Glencoe High School. I actually lost to a Mount football, although they're playing very well now. I actually lost in the 80s to a Mount football team, which was not easy because they weren't necessarily all that good back then. So
They are now.
But now,
Now they're good.
They are very good now in their class. So, I moved to Mound, and there was an opportunity to be appointed to fill a seat for a partial term on the Mound City Council. I was appointed and served there for almost 12 years, and at which point I was elected to the Senate. I've been there now for 9 years. This year, I had a few committee changes. This is my third term. It's the short term. We're up for re-election next year because of redistricting. I serve on the Government Operations and Elections Committee. I serve on the Transportation, which is one of my passions. I also serve on a subcommittee on technology. And I also have the gavel for the subcommittee on metropolitan governance, though I have not hold a meeting, and I won't hold a meeting because right now we don't have a lot of changes in that council that I could foresee that the governor and the other body are interested in. I've always been, and I've been here before talking about my council plan to try and make them more accountable to local jurisdictions, which would be that you folks would have to actually present a resolution of support for your council representative for them to actually to be seated at some point in time, sort of a ratification program. That hasn't gotten any legs at the legislature, as a lot of things do at the legislature. They don't sometimes go pretty far. In the legislative session, I'll tell you, I will grade it a good D+. It was not a very good legislative session, in my opinion, for a number of reasons. There were a number of bills that I felt weren't in the best interest of Senate District 33. I'll point to one issue in particular. There's something called the Rondo land bridge. I'm not sure if you know about it. This is something that we said no in committee. We said no in the Senate floor. And in the last 2 days of the special session, it suddenly mysteriously showed up in the tax bill. Actually showed up in the jobs bill. It was out of the jobs bill and then came back like a bad sequel in the tax bill. That's what happens when you're dealing with omnibus bills. For those of you who don't know what the Rondo land bridge is, it was $6 million, which doesn't sound like a lot of money. In the grand scheme of 50-some billion that we spend in the state of state money alone, not including the federal money that we spend. It isn't a ton of money, but it is for community outreach and planning to put a park over I-94 between Lexington and downtown St. Paul. It's not the $6 million that necessarily drove me crazy. It's the $1 billion that is going to actually become, because the estimates are over $1 billion to put this in. And I understand that back in the 60s there was the Rondo neighborhood. I've heard a lot of discussion about that. I just don't see that as how Minnesotans want their taxpayer. And granted, it may be federal money, $1 billion worth of federal money, but the last time I checked, that $1 billion still comes from you somehow. And I didn't see that as a wise investment. I think there are so many other issues facing Minnesotans that $1 billion to put a park over a freeway isn't it. So that's why I gave it a D+. Sometimes a C-. I think it depends on the day that I have. Bills. I just want to briefly touch on one of my bills that I got passed. It was the first time out of the gates for this one. It was deemed by Senator Newman, the chair of transportation, as the most un-Osmic bill of all time. And in 9 years, I've had a few bills, but this one dealt with corrections. And it was very unusual for me because I don't delve into that area. I'm far more on transportation, energy policy issues, that kind of thing. This was brought to me by a friend of mine that I actually grew up in high school with. He worked in Minnesota. He's now moved to Florida. He worked with felons that were exiting state prisons. And he talked to me about how they're having difficulties reintegrating into society. And I said, how so? Well, he says, when people leave, there's no set rules or set take-home, for lack of a better term, take-home sheet. You know, when kids come home for the weekend or whatever, they have a folder, take-home folder, of everything they need or their projects or whatever the case might be. There's no consistent pattern or consistent methodology for when people leave incarceration in the state of Minnesota. So I talked to him about what was needed. And the first thing was, well, they don't usually have a picture ID. They need to have a picture ID in order to do any number of things, cashing a check. So we put that in statute saying, when they leave incarceration, if they need it, we will plan ahead because 3 or 4 months in advance, when they're leaving incarceration. So make sure they have a picture ID the day they leave. Where's their social security card? Don't know. Lost it 3, 4, 5 years ago. They had it someplace. Can't find it. They need it for a job. How are they going to get a job without a social security card? So we tell corrections. You have to plan ahead. Make sure that you give them the paperwork, help them through the process of getting a copy of their social security card. This isn't rocket science. Those type of things. The last thing that we put in was for somebody who needs medications. Non-narcotic medications. If you're on something, a heart medication, antipsychotics, and you are diagnosed in the prison and you're receiving them, you usually get what's called a bubble card. And every day you pop the bubble around whatever times each day you pop the bubble, eat the pill. Well, when you leave incarceration before this bill, you get whatever was left on that card. And you leave. Now, we will send you home with what's currently on that card. Give you another month's prescription to take with you. Again, non-narcotics, you can't go onto the street and sell it and do anything with it. As well as a prescription for another month beyond that, and your medical records, so that you don't have to be worrying about where am I going to get that medication from. The whole point of this is so that guys like him don't have people getting back into trouble for something that is relatively easy to fix. If we get the cost on this is about $120,000 a year, chump change. You guys, $120,000 is big. For the state of Minnesota, very inexpensive, well worth it. 2 people not going out of the thousands that come out roughly. If we can save 2 people from going back in, that saves the money. And it doesn't send them back through that guy with the gun. We want people, as I said when I presented the bill, we want people to be taxpayers because they're productive, contributing to society, they're not a burden. I want more of those. That was sort of strange because the folks on the other side of the political aisle were saying, you want more taxpayers? Yes, I do, for that reason. Lastly, the reason I don't have business cards is because about 2 weeks ago, my caucus put me forth as the next president of the Minnesota Senate. In the process of getting new cards. What that means is I'm the operations manager of the Senate. A lot of people will look at that. The political power in the Senate resides with the majority leader. In the House, sort of a civics lesson, in the House, the Speaker is the political leader of the body. But in the Senate, it's the majority leader. The President is the operations manager to make sure bills are referred properly, actions take place in proper sequence, make sure you rule and run the Senate floor according to customs and traditions, that kind of thing. So it's an honor. I'll be the 14th senator to be president of the Senate. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. You've already given me the keys to my new office, which, by the way, if you come down, I'd love to show it to you. Now that we rehabbed the entire Capitol, it really is a very special place. And it's my honor to serve not only as your senator, but also now as the president of the Senate. And I will now answer any question you happen to have on your mind. If I can't answer it, I will come back to you. If you ask me a question about natural resources or something, I'm not on the committee. Like wake, there is possibly some legislation on boat wakes coming, but it's not something that I'm necessarily privy to at this point in time because it's in a committee that I'm not necessarily working on. So with that, Madam Mayor,
Thank you.
Council members, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Senator Osmic, and congratulations. Just one point or comment. I had recently, a couple of years, last year or the year before, the opportunity actually visit the prison in Stillwater. And we met, it was a number of mayors, and we met actually with some of the individuals there. And one of the things they were saying, so I think I applaud your efforts, but one of the things, the biggest thing that they were saying is they leave there with $500 in their pocket and no work, and very difficult to find a job. And so I can understand their struggles. If you want to make them tax, of course we want them to be productive taxpayers and not go back to jail. But so the medication helps and all of that helps. But if there's some way of providing them a little more substantial support where they can get jobs, that would be a big help, and it would help society too. Especially the neighborhoods that they go back into, which unfortunately is sometimes not so good. So
there are some additional corrections things that I'm going to be working on, increasing that. I'm not sure how I can necessarily get it past some members of my own caucus, but I will say this: is there's a lot of times where they go in and fines and fees aren't waived when you go into prison, and many times you get child support. And if you're in prison, generally speaking, you're not making any money while you're in prison. One of the efforts I'm going to be looking at is, can we suspend or hold, add on at the end, but if you have a 10-year repayment on something that you have to do, that you just move the 10 years so that you aren't racking up fines and fees, which again goes to what you're just talking about, is that financial obligation when they're incarcerated. But I do know what you mean about trying to get them jobs, and that's why getting them those picture IDs, the Social Security card, tries to help the situation. It's not a perfect world,
exactly,
but it's a good start.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Of course, you know where to contact me if you need any help.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. All right. With that, that concludes our special presentations, and we'll move on to persons to be heard. Steve DeColios regarding water infrastructure. 3 minutes.
Well, I won't take 3 minutes.
Thank you.
My name is Steve DeColios. I live at 5415 Yellowstone
Trail in Minnetrista. First of all, I'd like to thank the council and mayor and staff for the opportunity to tour the South Water Treatment Facility this afternoon. It's really an amazing process and amazing facility. Just two questions. I'm not expecting answers tonight, but I know we've talked about the South Treatment Facility efficiency evaluation. I just was curious as to when that might be completed. And my second question is when the Southwest Water Tower will be completed. Thank you.
Thank you. Southwest Water Tower, do we have a staff update later on?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Well, this is again, I believe, like last month. Generally, we plan these meetings to be after
Yeah.
the council meeting or before the council meetings, but in the last 2 months they've been after. I
So
guess
at our
the
next
following
meeting.
we'll give you an update. But
Should be.
I do know that I know I've been talking with Gary over the last number of weeks. There was a little bit of concern about the painting, but I think they've been tracking pretty well. They had 1 day, I think, delay in the delivery of their paint, and this is not like paint you can get at
Hardware store,
Menards,
yeah.
you know. So I mean, this is special paint, so it passes all the tests when you actually put water in it and stuff in the tank tower. So they're working on that, but I won't have an update till Wednesday. So we'll have to update you on the next meeting, but I'll have something at the end of the meeting about the dedication. I think we're getting pretty darn close. I mean, I don't think we're that far along. The only thing I think we're waiting for, I think there might be still some supply chain things with some of the SCADA-related things. But that's been something we've known about. That's not unknown. But I think as far as work goes, I think they're finishing up. So hopefully we can get to our dedication ceremony in about 4 weeks. Could be done. Could be online by then. I don't know, but we'll give you more specific information, but it's coming soon.
And in answer to your other question, the answer is we don't know.
Yeah, and it's something we'll be working on. So, yeah.
All right. So with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda items. I would like to pull the work session meeting minutes from October 18th, 2021. Other than that, are there any you wish to remove? If not, we have a lengthy consent agenda item, and I will read them. We have approval of our special meeting minutes from October 18th, 2021. Then we move on to C, which is approve our City Council regular meeting minutes from October 18th, 2021. And then we have D is a resolution to approve claims. E is a resolution to approve a lakeshore setback variance at 2632 Saunders Lake Drive North. F is a resolution to approve a lakeshore setback variance at 3720 Lee Road in Minnetrista. And G is to accept the improvements and authorize final payment of the Sunnyfield Water Tower rehabilitation. Yay, finally done. And H is a resolution to accept the St. Bonifacius proposed fire service pension increase for 2022. And I is a land conveyance agreement to Three Rivers Park District. J is a resolution to approve organics drop-off grant agreement with Hennepin County. K is a drainage easement agreement between the City, Crane Island Association, and Palmer Point Homeowners Association. And that's it. So we are approving A, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. Is there a motion to approve those consent agenda items?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Mortensen made that second. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. I just want to go to page 6. Hold on. And it states under number 3, under the sewer fund budget discussion, it says council and staff discussed the amount of increase and other options for funding the sewer fund activities. The consensus of the City Council seemed to be to increase the quarterly rate by $2 to $3 a quarter. I don't think we said we were in agreement with that. My recollection was that we weren't going to increase it right now, and staff was going to bring back a spreadsheet and also then a fund balance policy.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's...
So I think, so we need to just remove the consensus of the City Council seemed to be to increase the court, just remove that sentence. discuss the amount of increase and other options for funding the sewer fund activities. And then it says we discussed look to a fund balance policy for the water, so that would be fine. So I think that just that last sentence needs to be removed. Council, are you in agreement with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I had no other comments for that then. With that, then, I will make a motion to approve those meeting minutes with that correction.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Mortensen. Made that second. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. So we'll move on to our public hearings. We have a vacation of a portion of the road leading to Gale Woods Regional Park as requested by Three Rivers Park District. Who's doing this one? David?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members of council. As you may recall, this actually came up a couple of years ago as the council is working through your road maintenance fund and potential projects. I believe it was actually a mill and overlay that was being proposed on this section on your screen for the entrance to the Gale Woods Regional Park. When that got brought up, the idea of vacating that easement and giving that entrance back to giving it to Three Rivers Park District was brought up by our council. We engaged in some conversations with Three Rivers, and things kind of went by the wayside there for a while. But with recent activities, some of which are on your agenda here earlier on the consent agenda, we were able to come to some understanding with Three Rivers Park District staff, and they are in agreement to go ahead and have the city vacate that section of roadway so that it will be now turned over to Three Rivers Park District for them to maintain, plow, and take over maintenance of such. It is common that Three Rivers does own and maintain entrances to their regional parks, so it's something that made sense. So like we do with other vacations of road right-of-ways, we've provided notice to all adjacent property owners. We've published a public hearing. You need to hold that public hearing this evening, close the hearing, and then we do have a resolution before you for consideration this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Abel. Any questions, council of staff? All right. So I will open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. If there's anybody that wishes to speak for or against or make comments regarding the vacation of this roadway, you may do so at this time. There is nobody here for that public hearing, so I will close the public hearing and take it back to council. This is a good thing. We don't have to maintain their entrance road. So is there a motion to approve vacating a portion of the road basically portion of the road?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Is there a private residence as you first turn in there? Is there a private residence on the north side?
That's owned by the Three Rivers Park District.
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. One of their employees, I think, actually lives there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So with that, then, any other questions? Good. Is there a resolution for vacating a portion of the road leading to, well, actually, it's all of the road leading to the Gale Woods Regional Park. It would be that section of County Road 110 West.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Trumperlin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. So we will move on to our business items. Our first business item is approve a change order and extend contract completion date for the 21 Street project. I believe Ms. Vowski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As council may be aware, the local street improvement project is very close to completion. However, the contractor has been unable to meet the specific requirements for final completion, and as such has requested, not final, substantial completion. And with that has asked for an extension to November 5th. So we wanted to bring this to council for consideration. The contractor has been making progress. The remaining work for Minneapolis is the final lift of pavement. The final lift of pavement has gone on all the other roads, Loring, Stonebridge, and Hardscrabble. Just out there, actually, between recess of the work session and the subcontractor for Restoration was out there, getting some seed on some of those exposed areas. So they are coming very close, but the contractor has requested, and we are recommending extending that substantial completion date to November 5th.
Thank you. And the substantial just basically means that second or final wear course?
Correct.
Okay. And it won't get too late in the season?
That's an excellent question, Madam Mayor, Council. With the colder weather that we've encountered as of late, the contractor submitted a cold weather paving plan to ensure that the product that the city receives is in good condition given the cooler temperature. So we are comfortable with what they've presented.
What do they have to do? Like put down heated?
Well, they certainly cover the load when it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stay once it pours out of the back of the truck. They're rolling it a little bit faster, making sure that the temperature of the mix itself isn't getting cooled, so they're able to do this. This is something similar that was done
On
on
Enchanted?
the Enchanted project.
Mm-hmm. And then they had multiple trucks lined up to go right away. And yeah, okay. Have we had any problems with Enchanted? Do you
Not
know?
to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And that adds cost. So I'm assuming that they take care of the cost and doesn't add to our budget? Or?
That's an excellent question, Councilmember Mortensen. There's no additional cost to the city for any accommodations that the contractor has to make to do the cold weather operations.
Okay. Good.
They're going to be able to get this done this week?
Yes, they actually, in the past week, they've had significant progress. And like I said, the remaining significant portion of the substantial completion is that second layer of asphalt on Minneapolis. So they were out on, I believe they were out on Saturday paving. So they're certainly putting the hours in. And
Are you supposed to wait a certain amount of time between the initial and then the final wear course?
I believe so, but I don't have those dates at the
I mean,
top
will
of
we
my
have
head.
enough separation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And then they finished hardscrabble and Loring and Stonebridge?
Correct.
And will you go out and just check on hardscrabble, what I talked to you about
Certainly.
earlier? I mean,
Yes,
just,
take
okay.
a look at the
Okay.
way some of those
Yeah.
things came together.
All right, thank you. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, extend the contract completion date to November 5th? Will that give them enough time?
That's what they've indicated.
All right, all right. That's what they want.
We wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep everything in
No,
the
sure.
contract
Yeah.
according to council approval. So,
Okay. All right.
so moved.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And then there's the other change order extending the utility project. This is also Minneapolis Avenue.
Thank you, Madam
Yeah.
Mayor and Council. Yes, this is correct. This is the utility project for the work that is to be completed on Minneapolis Avenue associated with the lift station. So this is the second change order that has to do with extending the substantial completion dates. Similar to the first time we brought this to council, there has been supply chain issues with this project. The good news is, from the time that this report was written to today, the contractor did receive the lift station panel. So they do have some of the lift station panel work installed, but it's still not complete. They still have some antenna work to do, go through all the debugging, so to speak, of the new lift station panel and get everything switched over to the new system. And as such, the contractor has requested an extension of the substantial completion date to November 30th in order to complete that. The work, really, the work that they've done past their original completion date, to my knowledge, hasn't affected the street improvement project. All this work has occurred off of the street section, and so they just there's nothing from a material standpoint where the cold weather will affect them. It's just a matter of getting everything rigged up there and ready to go. So,
Okay.
staff is recommending approval of the contractor's request to extend that substantial completion date.
Okay. Thank you. Council, questions? All right. Is there a motion then to approve the letter? I'm sorry, that's a different one. Approve the change order number 3 and extend the contract completion date for the 21 utility project.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chumperland. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. Next, we move on to the letter of agreement with the executive firm, Baker Tilly, and to perform the city administrator search. Ms.
Thank you,
Pofus?
Madam Mayor. With the announcement of Mike Barone's retirement at the September 20th City Council meeting, the Council directed staff to obtain proposals for an executive search firm to conduct the city administrator hiring process. At the special meeting on October 18th, the City Council interviewed 3 firms, and at the regular meeting on October 18th, the Council directed staff to negotiate the price and an inclusion of a 6-month review with Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly has accepted these terms and provided a letter of engagement for City Council to approve tonight. And following their approval, I will begin coordinating the process with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to twist their arm, right?
Oh, yes. And a hard bargain.
Yes. Questions, Council? Did you talk to them? So when would be the first time that they would start? I mean, now that we've signed the contract, then they start immediately? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
The schedule begins this week, so
Okay.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow, let them know it was approved, and then they'll probably lay out a more detailed schedule for me to
Okay.
get in contact with you all. And
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. City Council will be interviewed, each one of us individually, correct?
Yes, I don't know if that will be via phone call or if they'll actually come on site, but I'll coordinate that with Baker Tilly. Yep.
Okay. And just for a time element, could we get the questions in advance that they're going to be asking us?
Sure. Yeah. Because I think they'll ask about what you see for the position to create their brochure and the
Yeah.
profile. Yeah. Yep, I can ask them for that. Hopefully they're able to, but I definitely will.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Would you see these interviews for the council being this week yet or next week? Do you know?
I don't know that.
When you talk to them, maybe just then send us. Can
Yeah.
you send the council the schedule then?
Yep.
If they, as soon as you get it, or as soon as they can put it together.
Yep. I asked them for an updated schedule based on approval of today, so I'll send that out. I can send that out tomorrow.
Yeah,
'cause
okay.
I have that.
And then, any other questions? I think you had one.
I didn't know if you wanted me to bring it up now. All right, my question is, we are doing this process, and it sounds like we're going to probably have somebody in place by March. Mike is leaving on December 17th, so we have a lapse time, and I'm just wondering, what are we doing in that in-between time to fill in Mike's position?
So it'll probably be about 8 to 10 weeks, maybe?
I don't know if you
Thereabouts.
want to take that.
Obviously, that's going to be up to what the council wants to do. You could appoint somebody currently on staff as an interim. I think that, or just rely on the general expertise of all the department directors that we have here. They're all very capable people. We kind of operate that way in general. I mean, I don't feel like I'm fearless leader here. You know, we're a big team, and we've worked that way ever since I got here. I mean, I can't really imagine any other way that we've operated. So, I mean, that would be something that you guys would have to decide and do. But the one thing I would not recommend is to go find somebody from the outside by the time they got here and just figure out how to adjust the chair in the office. It's going to be, you're going to be hiring somebody. So I think you're better
Unless
off.
we hit a snag in the process and don't find anybody, but
I can't imagine you won't.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe what we
bring
should
it
do
back
is
and
bring
talk
it back
next-
at the
next
at the next work session, because I think it merits some thought and some discussion.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Did we make the motion then and approve this?
You did not.
Okay. We've been in meetings since 3 o'clock, so I'm getting a little...
Part of our-
All right.
I'll move fast.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the letter of engagement with the executive search firm Baker Tilly and Baker Tilly to perform the city administrator search.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ms. McGregor.
Or she do it.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. And next we'll move on to the Employee Assistance Program through Sun Life.
That is me again.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Minnetrista's current health insurance provider does not offer an employee assistance program and hasn't since 2019. The city's previous providers did include an employee assistance program benefit, and staff wishes to bring this benefit back to employees. An employee assistance program is a voluntary work-based program that offers free and confidential assessments, short-term counseling, referrals, and follow-up services to employees who have personal or work-related problems. Staff obtained 2 proposals from providers and recommends enrolling in an EAP through Sun Life. Sun Life also currently provides our long-term, short-term disability benefit and life insurance. The cost for this program is 85 cents per employee per month, and with this, employees have access to 3 face-to-face visits with an experienced clinician per occurrence. And attachment A displays a little bit more information about the program. This would be an employer-paid benefit of $387.60 per year for all 38 employees.
Thank you. I think it's a good program. Basically, there's a lot of talk about wellness in the workplace and providing your employees all the tools that they might need. So I think for the price, it's well worth it. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
So, any other questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, then is there a motion to approve the Employee Assistance Program through Sun Life?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Trumperlin. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And next we're going to talk about our water education and conservation campaign.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is going to be kind of a group effort. I'm going to start off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Allie, and we'll ask Allison to chime in wherever she feels appropriate. What you have in your packet is basically just a game plan, and the game plan is based on the occurrences we had this past summer with our outdoor watering ban in June and July with the drought situation that we had. A number of things came to light, and one of the things we want to do is to educate our residents and talk to them directly through some mailings about what they can do in a number of different areas. So as the council saw today, there's a lot that goes into a water treatment plant, but that's kind of one aspect of the overall process that gets water into people's homes. So we want to talk a little bit about the items that you see based on a monthly basis, whether it's infrastructure, supply, water usage, metering, lawn irrigation, and those kind of things. So we feel like it's a worthwhile endeavor, and what we found out this summer is that a lot of people, until essentially the spigot got turned off, didn't really know a lot about these things. And I remember hearing Allie tell numerous residents when they were calling about the depth of water in the tower and stuff like that, and all the things that we got to think about that went into that decision to have that outdoor watering ban. So I'll let Allie kind of go through each month that comprise and what we hope to accomplish in each one. And then, like I said, Allison, if you've got some nuggets that you want to throw in, feel free to do so. So, Allie?
Sure, yeah. So I'll just run through every month and go through what we're doing as a mail-out and also what the city council decisions that will have to be made. So in November, we're kind of doing the rollout with the newsletter and posting on social media. So we'll let residents know that they will be receiving a monthly mailing about water and infrastructure. And then in December of this year, we'll begin our first mailing with the past, what's happened in the past in the history of the water infrastructure, what current infrastructure we have, and any other general history about our water infrastructure that we want residents to know. At the work session in December, we also want to review and discuss some ordinance language change, such as sod laid between certain dates, a soil depth inspection, and such. Councilmember Chamberlain pointed out an error in my memo. It should be code 500.23, so that was a typo. In January 2022, we'll talk about Minnetrista's specific water supply, how it gets from the aquifer to the well, to the tower, to the home, because I don't think people generally know that information. Discuss the difference between treated and untreated water, and explain what Mike had said, the thresholds in the water tower. And then at the work session, we'll continue the discussion of the city code section changes and begin discussing the tiered water weight structure. In February, we'll kind of go over what we experienced in 2021, the weather, the excess usage, the water tower levels. That's what we're explaining the DNR peak factor and what it means for us. We'll discuss the allocation and any potential consequences of going over that allocation. And then I have in my plan to send a separate mailing to the high users in 2021 at that time, since we'll have a full year of usage by that point in our billing system. And then at the February meeting, I hope that we can approve the city code section changes if there are some, and continue discussing the tiered water rate structure, and also possibly have a potential speaker from the DNR. In March, this is where we're going to provide information.
You forgot the neighborhood meeting?
Yes.
Okay, in April.
I did write a note to add that.
It's in our packet.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. It's not on my plan.
Yeah, the idea there was if, we had a number of people that contacted us, whether it was emails or telephone calls or both, with complaints about the outdoor watering. And what we want to do for that is to kind of target those people and see if they'd be interested in learning a little bit more about this topic, and whether it's an open house or whatever format of your choosing is going to be. But I think it would be beneficial for especially the people that took the time to say what's going on. I remember emailing back a bunch of them. Some got very nice replies, thanks, you're doing a great job. Some were like, what the hell, I want to water my lawn, so I mean everything in between. So I think it would be worthwhile to have some interaction face-to-face with people. And then, as Allie mentioned, it would hopefully include a representative from the DNR that would be able to talk about those things. So Allie, if you want to continue with March
Thanks,
and April.
Mike. Yeah. In March of 2022, this is where we would have our water meter and lawn information. So picture, video on how residents can read their water meter compared to the previous year. Discussion on how much people's lawns need, how much water they need, and a possible implementation of an irrigation assessment program where public works employees or people can call our public works department and have them come on site to see if their irrigation is efficient or not. And then as far as city council items, continue the discussion of a water rate structure and hopefully approve a new water rate structure and amend the fee schedule if needed. And then the final month of this campaign is April 2022. This is where we'll really tap into or relay information about water conservation and what the summer water restrictions will be for the summer. And then at that time, I also hope to get some monthly high usage notification mailings out to residents, so we can run a report every month of the summer and send high users notifications because it's quarterly billing. So I thought it's important that residents know if they're using a lot of water at the time they are. So that's just a brief overview and obviously subject to change, but I don't know, Allison, if you got anything to add.
No, I think Mike and Allie put a lot of work into this, and look forward to council's feedback as far as timeline and content, so that we can move forward with something.
I think it's good. I had suggested the neighborhood meeting, so I think sometimes face-to-face interaction with residents is better, is really good, rather than just always just emails or just always mailing. So I think that's an important key component of this. I know it means an extra meeting for all of us, but I think it's important. Otherwise, I think they did an excellent job. I really do. A lot of thought and time will go into this, so that's one thing the council has to understand. But I think it's important, and I think it will be good for our residents too.
I think it'll be good to have the discussion or multiple on the tiered water rates. I mean, we have the water rate tier
Right.
structure, but we just haven't really probably tweaked it other than raising all rates 4% the last,
Right.
several, knowing that, with all the infrastructure we're doing, we've had to increase rates, but maybe there's a better way, or we should be doing it as far as especially encouraging conservation. If the tiered rates at the higher end got to be a higher increase or something, that's, I guess, for council to discuss.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
I think one of the keys is that you're contacting the high water users quickly. Because I think, Kathleen, you had mentioned that people get their quarterly bill and they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I think if they're notified ahead of time, I think they would change the usage if they knew ahead of time.
I agree.
Just because of the cost in itself.
Mhm.
So.
How many gallons are we considering
I
notifying
think-
after a
Well, I
month?
think we're considering the DNR threshold or peak factor as kind of a cutoff point to notify users.
Yeah, I think that's a 2.6 peaking factor that the DNR stipulates is a kind of the sweet spot for residents. So if they're substantially above that, they're going to get a letter and say you're in that category where you're watering kind of maybe more than you should. And it's going to take some examination of all the accounts because we do have some people who really aren't here in the winter. And so their water usage is really small. So it doesn't take you can turn on the faucet for a couple of days and maybe be past your peaking factor
Right.
if you are a snowbird. So we're going to have to make sure we look at that and not penalize and piss people off that are just snowbirds and they don't really use that much. So we might have to draw some assumptions like the average amount of water that people would use in a winter if you're a normal household and make that the baseline for those people and then look at their data, so to speak, and see if they've crossed the threshold. So, but there's always extenuating circumstances. So, it's not going to be perfect, but I think just the fact that the volume that they're using or that's going through their house, I think is going to be good information for them to kind of key in on. So.
Well, I think it's important, too, for us to look at maybe an ordinance about when sod can go down and when it can't. That because sod takes an enormous amount of water. It really does. So
Yeah.
maybe if they can't sod after June 15th or something like that.
And so, we've looked at that. We'll get into more details,
Yeah.
but you're right, Mayor, that, we have some competing ordinances. Well, one had to do with the temp CO thing we had a couple
Right.
of years ago. We were telling people, put your sod down, and then this past year we say, don't put your sod down. I mean, so we've got to kind of weigh all of that, and that's why we're starting with the ordinances, because there are some things that are
Conflicting,
a little bit
yeah.
in competition with each other. We got to make sure they all line up and everybody's comfortable. And then if you do need some sort of legal look at it, Rod's office would be able to take a peek at that and get that ready. So the goal here is, as it mentioned in the memo, I mean, you've got builders, developers, homeowners, sod layers, city staff. I mean, there's a lot of people that kind of all need to be on the same page. So we're starting with the ordinances to make sure they line up. And because we did get some pushback this year, we told people stop on the sod, and they said, "Oh, I've already got it ordered," So okay, we'll give you an exception. That
But
kind
if
of
they
thing.
know ahead of time,
If
yeah.
they know ahead of time, they won't have that
Yeah.
excuse.
So the only other thing is you talk in fiscal impact, city staff, individuals work together, blah, blah, blah. The marketing, so you said $500 per month for the cost to print them, I'm assuming.
So that's the cost to generate the mailing.
Right.
So Allison's time and her graphics team
Okay.
gathering information, that sort of thing.
Okay, and then there's the printing, which is, it says postage and mailing is $1,000, but does that include the printing?
No.
Okay, so.
Oh, wait. So
1,000.
there's like the marketing cost of
Right.
the graphics, putting it together, gathering our information, that's $500.
Right.
And then the actual printing, mailing, postage.
That's $1,000.
Yes. And this
Okay.
is all approximate. I didn't ask for a quote, but I went off our
Yeah, it
newsletter.
looks about right to me. So it's about $1,500 a month, and we're looking at taking that obviously out of the water fund. So, just so we're.
And then the other thing that's not in here, because it's going to frankly take too long to explain, as you see in the November one, we're combining that with the Minnetrista Messenger.
Right.
We may try to do that again at some point in time, January, February, March, whatever works.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just make a larger Minnetrista messenger that would have the pages for this, so we don't have to do postage twice or
Yep.
something like that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that's an option for us as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
So a question on cost, so we're looking at almost every month you're doing something. So it's like 6 months, so we're going to be doing 6 mailings, maybe a couple less, at $1,500 per mailing.
So around $9,000, $10,000.
It might be a little less, like you said,
Yeah.
Yes.
if we put
Combine
the
it with the
two,
newsletter.
combine, let's say, 2 of the Minnetrista messengers, so
Right.
a little less.
Hopefully
but-
we get the benefit back tenfold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like-
Yeah.
well, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Seriously, sure.
So roughly 8 to 10.
Yeah, this is quite a project that we're biting off here, but I think it's going to be worthwhile. We hope it pays off for everybody that's seated here and our residents. So,
And staff's time, because they took an
Right.
enormous amount of time this summer. But here's the other thing. I was thinking about the test wells that were authorized. The 3 of us had fun here. Anyhow, we authorized the test wells, and they're going to be done. But if we have to go to the DNR for permission, this is I think just a great example of what we're doing to educate our residents, because that might be one thing that they ask. And I don't know of any other city that has done this good of a job. So I think we'll be sitting in a good spot.
yeah, you look at the peaking factor data, and it can be hard to find, but it's there in other cities. I haven't seen any as high as ours. and I think
Ours is
it's
pretty high.
And
It's
so
pretty
I
high.
think you're exactly right, Mayor, that we are going to get that question. What are you doing to curtail your city's usage? And
Yeah.
the fact that we've got this plan to do that, I think, is going to help us, hopefully, with siting wells.
And the newspaper coverage that we get in the Laker, is that something we initiate, or is that something that they listen to our meetings and?
This particular
Right.
subject, they've been reaching out to us.
Yeah, and they're more than happy. I mean, they're not going to do our stuff for free
No.
or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but, obviously we can work with them, because we have in the past with doing press releases and stuff to
Because
say
during
this-
the campaign, a lot of people said they read the Laker all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
we got to have
No, it's
regular
worthwhile
articles
to-
throughout the campaign.
They've been
in there.
asking us, so
Yeah.
we're
Good.
excited about that.
Good.
You can do press releases.
They pick them up and print.
They may or may not print them.
They generally do.
They generally do, but sometimes they don't. But generally they do.
I think
so-
this particular topic.
Yeah,
You
I think they
write a
will.
press release for them, they'll print it because they don't have to write it.
They don't have to write it. There you go.
That's true.
Ready for print.
Allie,
All right.
how up to date are the addresses that get the newsletter?
Well, so there's a difference between the ones that get the newsletter and the ones on city water supply. So I have them pull the list of all the residents right before I mail out. So all of them will get the first newsletter. The ones on city water supply will get the campaign mailings.
Right, I know. I just know there's people in the neighborhood that don't always get the newsletter, so I just wanted to make
Oh,
sure.
really?
You
Pretty-
pull it like the little address list that the day
Yeah,
before. gets
yeah.
out.
We pull it like the week of.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Right from our utility billing system.
Yeah, yeah, and they can always come by and pick one up too. We always print a bunch here, but yeah, everyone who's a resident on file should get one.
All right.
I just have one other thing. As far as keeping the city council updated, Allie, would you be doing updates monthly on this?
I definitely can. Well, I think it'll be a discussion at most of the work sessions, so I can provide a little update.
Okay.
Definitely.
So are you planning on doing this kind of like broadband, where we have is it like the first meeting every month, or is it second
Well, I think
meeting?
we've got it spelled out in our internal plan. It's either the first and second, depending on how long the topic's going to take from month to month. But
Okay.
you will get something at one of the work sessions every month.
Okay.
Don't know exactly. Can't remember off the top of my head.
Typically the first. I'm hoping
I
by
think
the
it's the
first, and then it
first.
gives us a little leeway if we don't have it by
Yeah,
the
I think
second.
it's
But
the
the
first.
mailing, the campaign mailing, I'm shooting for end of month for residents to receive it.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you need a motion for approval, just a nod of
No.
approval? I think
This was just
everybody's
an
on
FYI.
board, so great job. Thank you very much. I
Thank
think
you.
it's excellent. So we'll move on to staff reports. City Administrator?
Yes, Mayor and Council. So our next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight, Monday, November 15th. I will actually be on vacation starting tomorrow. Tomorrow at this time, I'll have a nice drink in my hand down in Florida. So I'll be gone through November 12th. So I'll be back for the next council meeting. I wouldn't miss it. And then the final comment I have is that we've identified Tuesday, November 30th at 3 p.m. for the ribbon cutting / dedication ceremony for the Southwest Water Tower.
November 30th?
So it's Tuesday, November 30th, which would be 4 weeks from tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the ribbon cutting dedication. So Allie will be sending out some information. I gave her, she was gone, I think Thursday, Friday of last week. And so I sent her an email saying the campaign kickoff on putting that information out is this week. So you may see it in the paper this Friday because their deadline is 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm not sure who's going to get it ready by then, but for sure the following, and that's still a full 2 weeks ahead of the
And hopefully
date.
in the newsletter.
Yeah, and
to
then
get the newsletter over there.
Okay, and you're saying
So, Facebook.
3 p.m.
3 p.m.
At the water tower
At the
site.
plant.
At the tower site.
At the
Water
tower.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
At the tower.
Okay. You all
With
know
the
where
big
that
scissors
is?
again, ready to cut a ribbon. So
Okay.
need those big scissors,
It's going to be cold.
I need
Wear
those
gloves.
scissors. I'll have hot chocolate on standby.
You will? Don't say that. If you don't mean
Don't
it.
put that in the record.
All right.
Yeah, if there's mud out there, at least it'll be frozen. So
All right. Anything else?
that's all I have, and Ms. Polfus has a few things.
I do. I'll make it quick. So after the sergeant position was posted internally for 1 week, we received 2 applications and held interviews. Justin Thompson emerged as the final candidate for this promotion, and we are continuing in the next steps in the process. So hopefully it will be on your next agenda. It's contingent on a psychological evaluation, and so we hope he gets promoted here and starts December with his transition. And then after the utility billing and recycling coordinator position was posted internally for a week, we received no applications. So we will be going externally for that position. We'll probably post it for 2 weeks and then be updating the personnel committee on next steps. Then also an update from MediaCom. I received a call from Zach that there will be 21 additional homes on Highland Road receiving service in 2022 at the so expensive
On
MediaCom.
Highland or on Halstead?
Highland.
On Highland, okay.
Yep, and they'll kind of be in 2 separate groups. One will have conduit buried based on this current deed project. The ones, I think 11, will come later in the year. Apparently, deed encouraged MediaCom to increase their fiber capacity for takeoff points for their next grant application. So they'll be adding these homes in 2022. I've not heard anything from deed regarding the dates for submittal.
Okay, so this is a new grant.
Nope.
No,
So
this is
the
just an
21
add-on.
homes, they can't use grant funds for it, but there are nodes, conduits that they can work off of for 21 homes that they are providing the fiber to the home. So
Okay.
it's not a part of the grant project, but there are surrounding homes to the grant project that they can service
Okay.
at their sole cost. Yep. And I think I didn't get much information from Zach, but he said they were encouraged by deed to do this to increase their odds of getting the next grant.
The next grant. Okay, when will
As
they
takeoff points for the next 200 and some odd
Right.
homes.
So when will they find out about the next deed grant?
I don't
Because
know.
they were
I
due
even-
in September.
I know.
I-
This is crazy.
I
So-
asked Deed directly too. We don't know. I'm imagining they'll be pushing off submittal dates till next year. So
Okay. And have you contacted Hennepin County to see?
I contacted both Hennepin County and Dean Phillips' office, and they
Okay.
would both they're willing to lend support, but we're kind of waiting for this deed application to see how much we're request. I don't know what our request would be
Okay.
of them.
Till we
Oh,
fill it.
okay.
But as far as dollars,
Okay.
but
Oh, government, wait and wait.
yes.
Not
But
here,
I'll
come
provide
on.
an update when I,
I
hear
know.
more.
No,
Get stuff done.
Talking about the deed grant. All right, thank you.
Yep, that's all I had.
Oh, I know. I was going to ask you. So then, when we, let's say Thompson is then promoted
Mhm.
to sergeant, would we have a swearing in of all of the officers that
Yep,
haven't
next-
been publicly sworn
next
in?
meeting. We have
We're
it
doing that
scheduled for.
next meeting. Will
Yes.
Will Justin be sworn in? Will he be?
I'm not sure. Well, he's
well,
already
it's-
sworn in.
He's
Right,
sworn
it's the
in,
three
but-
new ones. Justin's will have to be either December or January once he's.
I'm not sure exactly what the ceremony is for a promotion.
His psychological exam would be after the swearing in on the 15th, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why he couldn't.
yeah. It's so Nikki Myrie, who was hired in 20.
And I know that we have three, but
Yeah, Jake, and then Spencer, who just started.
Yeah.
So they're on the 15th.
I was just
The
wondering
promotion
if
would be contingent on a site.
Right,
And that
so-
would be done in time by the 15th is what
Okay.
they're there.
I just thought if we could do every, and I know he doesn't get sworn in again, but if it's just a promotional thing, kind of would be nice to recognize that. But
all at once.
Yeah.
We might just have to push it back then.
Yeah.
do you want to do it December 6th then?
Well, again, I think you might want to just
Do it
do
separate?
the three. And
Okay.
Just in
Deal with
case
Justin's
something
later.
happens, we might as well get these three
Okay.
sworn in officially.
November
and then-
15th. All right.
Yeah.
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 All right. Great. Thank you. And then, Allison, do you happen to know on the test wells, are they good to go? Are they starting?
I'll get an update from Greg.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to ask him, but I know they were going through with contracts last week. So,
Okay.
we were getting this pushed through so that they could get going.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Council reports. We'll start with Kathleen.
Nothing to report.
All right. I'm assuming you're going to the meeting on the 17th, the fire meeting?
Yeah, I said that. I said that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm going to Ann's the next day too.
Okay. And good. Thank you.
And Gillespie Center, the last board meeting of the year is Thursday, this Thursday.
Okay.
So, and then right now, just so you know, they're running a sweepstakes. It's a fairly expensive sweepstakes. It's $52 a ticket, but you get it for the whole year.
Okay.
52 weekly drawings.
That's it, you guys. Thanks.
Thanks
for telling me.
And I never win, so.
I bought one too, so it's okay.
And-
Pioneer
yeah.
Sarah Creek attended on October 21st. We approved the third quarter budget numbers. They're basically in line. We're under on engineering costs. Not unexpected in that this is the first year that we had to hire engineering firm Hawkinson at market rates before we were using Hennepin
Hennepin
County's
County.
expertise at a much lower value, and so we were kind of just ballparking numbers, and we're running under. So it's hard to say whether it's because we were off on our estimating or just the projects aren't incurring as many hours. We also, the commission approved 2 projects that we will be involved with spending. One is a channel that runs eventually, it's in Independence and it runs towards Lake Independence. And it's eroding, heavily eroding, and so there's sediment that gets through the wetlands and gets into the Lake Independence. Hennepin County is the lead on this environmental. They've asked the watershed to kick in. $16,000 is coming out of funds that we had left from when we did a Baker Park stabilization. They did a large project there 2 years ago. There were funds left over from the grant we were given, and each year we've been able to push the deadline out to the next December 31st. However, it's this December 31st, they're going to be gone, whether we use them or not. So we're being able to use about 16,600 of what we had, about 32,000 left. And then out of our own CIP, which we always will commit to 25%, but not greater than a certain number, we're committing another 6,000 there. And then there's a large watershed, sub-watershed study being done. The land that runs between Lake Sarah and Lake Rebecca, the one big property owner that most of you probably know is the Zero, can't even say it.
The Zero Shrine.
Zero Shrine people.
Shriners.
There's tile in there that have been over the years have been crushed or whatever, and so if you ever driven past there going up towards Rockford in the spring, it's like a big lake down there, and so the water is backing up, and then we know there's culverts that are plugged leading to Lake Rebecca. So Hennepin County again is the lead on this. They've hired a firm to do a best practice study.
an assessment of what may need to be done. That's projected at being $68,000, of which the commission is committing $5,000 from CIP and $30,000 from grants that we've received. There's South Crow River grants that we've gotten some monies from. We're a small player, Pioneer Sarah Creek. When you talk about South Fork River, there's other very large watersheds, so we've got some funding there that we're putting towards that. So these are the two. We have not committed funds for a while here. There's been discussion, and Hennepin County leads a lot of things to get landowners to buy in. That's the latest thing, is trying to get landowners to come forward to help, and then trying to get them to commit some of the money as well. So we've got money to spend. It's just finding the right projects to commit it to. So that was
good.
What we did.
Yep. Sounds good.
WCC, I went to the meeting last week, and Senator Osmic was there and spoke for about exactly what I did here tonight. So, what else? The Santa Tour, highly successful, so they are doing it again. And it is involves police and fire, and it's a big thing. And they are going to be visiting some neighborhoods within Minnetrista. And it starts at 4:45 at the Mound Fire Department. It runs for 2 hours. It ends at the Veterans Memorial Park. And then the tree lighting starts at 6:30. So I'm leaving the poster, maybe it's in the alley or down, and you can hang it out there.
When is it?
So it is November 20th. So, and that's it.
Okay. I don't know if I had meetings. Three Rivers Park District will potentially be here, the representative. At our December meeting, she's hoping to be here for under special presentations, so that'll be good. But if she had to check her calendar, and so I'm hoping she'll be here in December. Otherwise, she'll come in January. Right. Other than that, Northwest Hennepin League, I'll be going to that in November. And that's, I attended the Planning Commission meeting, so I had the items that you saw, the variances were there. We had, and I just updated them on everything that's going on in the city. They had some good questions, and was good to see and meet one of our new commissioners, too. Also, just wanted to say again, we have several openings for parks and planning. So if you know of anybody that you think might be interested, let them know, have them apply. And what is the deadline?
December, end of December sometime.
Okay, sometime in December. So check it out, let people know, and December 10th. So, and then we would be making those, doing the interviews in January and making those appointments in January. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Do you need a park commissioner for parks? Do you need a commissioner for planning? Is there somebody available for planning? Would be the 29th, right? No, wait. Do we have 5?
22nd.
No.
22nd maybe.
Yeah, I can't.
It's 5 Mondays, so it'll be the 22nd.
Yeah, okay. 1, 2, yeah, the 22nd. Okay, and we'll do that. Do you know what's on the agenda yet?
The rezoning public hearing for all.
Oh, well, you're familiar with that, so there you go.
That works.
All right, thank you. So with that, anything else? I don't think we have any other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And we'll see you on the 15th.